Anyway, my background, Katie asked me to give my background. So I've lived in LaGrange for 11 and a half years. I've lived over in the Spring School District, and now I live in the Casa School District. And I'm finishing my 9th year on the library board. I went back and counted. I've been an officer for the last 5, and I'm finishing my second year as president. I ran the first strategic plan we did for many, many years at the library in 2005. And when we were building the new building, we were all extremely involved in that. But specifically myself, I created our fundraising committee. So, whatever your feeling is about our naming rights on the building, that's all me. We've really been trying to make people realize that the library is a place that you can make donations to, not just give your old books, but physically make donations. And that's been extremely successful. If you've been in the building, Rick Adamczyk, who's no longer on our board, stood up at a meeting and said, "Becky, go for it, but no one's going to give you any money to name something after themselves with all their tax money." And then right before he left the board, he didn't run again, he said, "Becky, you did it. You got people to give us money to put their names on stuff." So that's something, as Jeannie mentioned, we're really focusing on too, the fundraising and advocacy. I was also the trustee in charge of coordinating the search for the new director. It was right when our year was ending, and Bill Coffey was the president, but going through some things with work, and I was going to become president, so I sort of took that over. And that meant that I had to accept all the applications, prepare the information for the board, actually to leave to people's homes, because we couldn't do it through the library. We had to do everything confidentially on our own. And I was the one that negotiated the contract with Jeannie, too. So, in terms of my community involvement, I'm an active member of the LaGrange Memorial Hospital Foundation. I've chaired a committee for their last 4 balls that they've done. And as a family, my husband and I are very active with St. Thomas Hospice and a community nurse. So that's sort of my background. I do have a child at CASIT. I have one in Methodist Preschool who will be joining District 102, I don't know where yet, next year. And I also happen to be a librarian and a library educator, but I have absolutely no library administration experience, which is nothing, that's nothing that the board does, as Jeannie mentioned. We, vote on the policies and set the policies, but she is running the library. So Jeannie did talk about that role of the board, and as president, I really stressed that with the board. When we want to be very informed about how the library works without telling the staff how to do their job. We were having a little bit of problem before Jeannie came on where, and a lot of it was because there was a power vacuum. We had a year where we had a director who said he was leaving, and trustees were going directly to staff with issues. We had to sort of rein that in. And with Jeannie in charge, it's really done well with all the proper channels. Jeannie does a really great job of discussing the issues with her department heads, and then in a meeting I can say, "Jeannie, how does the staff feel about this?" And she can say, "Here's the issues that came up." And her and I do discuss those ahead of time, so I'm not surprised when I get to a meeting. And I kind of know what's going on there. We've also worked really hard with Jeannie, especially to work on the director evaluation process. As Jeannie mentioned, that's one of our major roles. The building we did, the strategic plan is brand new, and we've hired her. So really our big job is to evaluate her, and we've actually done a few extra ones in her first year to get us on the right schedule. And we worked really well with her developing a form and a format for that evaluation process that works well for the trustees and for the director. And after our first review of her, not only were we happy with her progress and how she's doing, but as a board we felt great that we finally had this tool to use to effectively and efficiently evaluate the director, which we hadn't had for a very long time. And a lot had to do with the fact that we had a director there for 30 plus years, so it sort of just, did itself. I was also asked to address how the library works as an integral part of the community. First, I want to mention how the library functions in terms of a government standpoint, because we are very unique. We are part of the village, sort of, part of not sort of the village. A village library cannot levy by the state of Illinois laws. A district library can levy for themselves. And a city library is a department within a city. And we're a village library. So we are an independently elected board, but we do not have the authority to levy for ourselves. We set our own budget, which not all village libraries are allowed to do. And apparently, I remember talks with our old director, there was a time in LaGrange where they would not let him do the budget. But we worked that out very well with our village government. So we do the budget, we work with Lou Ciparone, Jeannie and him talk, we figure out what we're going to be doing, and then we put our budget together, give it to them in time for that December 14th meeting, and we come to the public hearing, the director and the treasurer, who's currently Caroline Coriel, And they're there to answer any questions that could arise about the budget for the library. I think once in the last 20 years a question's come up. And then we're there to answer it because the village cannot answer it for us. But beyond that, we do everything ourselves. And that is a very unique thing that I think you guys need to understand. It makes us very lucky as trustees because we have this autonomy, but it also adds a level of responsibility to being a village trustee here, or a library trustee in this village, because we have to do a lot. We have a lot more responsibility. Nobody's looking over our shoulder in a lot of villages, so that's important too in terms of the people you're looking for. In terms of how we work specifically with the community, first of all, the library is just a huge resource for the citizens. People come in our library all the time for so many different reasons. So just, how the library is functioning and how it is welcoming is one way we're involved with the community. We have a community board. I heard you mentioning putting up flyers and stuff. We have a community board that our head PR person keeps looking very, very nice. It's right near our quick internet station, which people can come in and use. There's information up there, and you guys are welcome, any community group is welcome to put their information there. It gets a lot of positive response, and people are like, oh, why isn't this flyer there? So that's really important. But with the downturn in the economy, we haven't just gotten busier, which we have, and we got busier before it even got that. But one of the first things people stopped doing is buying their music, their movies, and their books. So they came to the library. We've also had a lot more demand for programming and free entertainment options. We added video games. The Friends of the Library funded that. They are never there, and that's how popular they are. I mean, you can put them on hold. My daughter waited a couple weeks to get one, but the fact of the matter is, you can get now, video games for your kids for free, things like that. We have lots of, obviously, all the bestsellers, everything that people, when they're cutting back, would come to the library for. We've also added many services and changed policies because of patron requests. We are amazed at how popular our internet is. Our computers, they are so busy constantly. Jeannie loves graphs, which we love. So she shows us how often they're being used. And at first we thought they were all people from out of LaGrange, but when we looked at it, it is more than half people in LaGrange. Our study rooms are booked all the time. I use them. I do some working from home. I'm a freelance writer, and I come in there for some quiet. And they're used and booked all the time. Our community room is booked up, through, I don't even know how, it's hard to get in. I think every 3 months you can book it up. We had trouble getting in for the board one time. We needed a bigger space, which is great. And Bridget, our marketing person, just told us that our display areas, we have community art display, are booked through July or something like that. So we're really working with the community to provide everything they could possibly need. And I have to say, we always get suggestions. Every month, part of our director's report are every suggestion that comes into that library the trustees see. Every single written suggestion, whether they're legible or not. And anybody who leaves their name and address gets a response from someone, generally our PR marketing person or Jeannie. And there's been times I have spoken to people. My number's given out and people call me if they're not satisfied, and I have no problem with that. But we respond to everything. We don't always do what they want or say, and we do give a priority to LaGrange residents. That's a discussion we've had many times. We've had people from out of LaGrange asking for a specific book or a specific program, and if we're going to be outlaying capital for that, we want to make sure it's someone in LaGrange, so we're very careful. But people come from all over to use our library. So we look at all the suggestions, we respond to every single one. And we rely on the director. She discusses them with her department heads, the suggestions ahead of time, so we know how they feel. While we were building our new building, and for this most recent strategic plan, we went out to the community a lot. With our survey, which, by the way, we were pleasantly surprised, returned a higher percentage of returns than we anticipated. We mailed it, we offered it at the library, and we went, and I was one of the people that went. We went to 2 places. I was actually at Panera Bread in LaGrange Park, but a lot of people from LaGrange are there. And actually, Liz Asperger was there while I was there having breakfast with friends. And we had someone at Borders in the Park District. So we were out in the community offering the survey where people were with our laptops, which was great.